So I've been wearing the Galaxy Watch 5 Pro now for several weeks, I think over a month now, and I think it's about time I finally deliver an actual review of this device. I'll give you a quick spoiler alert here. It's the best smartwatch I have ever had the joy of using. I would have prior given that accolade to the Mobvoi TicWatch Pro 3 Ultra, which is still very, very good, and I think underrated by a lot of people. But this Samsung watch just does so much right. It gets so much stuff correct, and it's just been such a great experience overall. I think it has to take that #1 spot. Before we go any further, though, talking about this watch, let's get a quick look at the hardware. So I'm actually using an aftermarket band here that is just an elastic band. I don't like the normal bands that come with most watches. I like something that is nice, quick, simple, easy to put on. So that is what I've got on here. But as far as the hardware goes, it's really premium, right? It's a very nice watch, and it absolutely should be, considering the fact that this thing is extremely expensive. I don't think I mentioned this already, but you're looking at like $450 for this watch straight up. Of course, you've got this 1.4-inch round display. No rotating crown there, right? You can sort of touch the edge of the screen and kind of mimic what the crown used to do to some degree, but that really does not work all that well. You've got a home button here and a back button there. You can map these things to also do different things. Like I've got mine mapped to hold and launch Google Assistant. You can see how quick that actually is there. What's the forecast for tomorrow? On the back side, you have your health tracking stuff, of which there is, your pretty standard set of sensors there. Now, one thing I do miss from my Mobvoi watch was the always-on display. It's actually a dual display device, so that you've got your normal display that looks like that, but when that goes to sleep, you have an LCD display. My watch is very dirty. Something is gotten on it. It is an LCD display, though, that actually the more light hits it, the easier it is to see. So I only needed to wake it up to actually do something, whereas this watch, you kind of have to have it on lift to wake to be able to see the time, and that does affect the battery life a little bit, but this thing does have a 590 milliamp hour battery, and that means that for me, it's lasts about between 3 and 4 days, which puts it in the territory of the TicWatch Pro 3 Ultra. I think the Mobvoi was just a little bit more consistently getting me to 4 days than this is, but still 3 days is kind of the minimum of where you should be with this watch. 1.5 gigs of RAM. It is still running the W920 Exynos processor, and it runs really, really well. It is extremely smooth as you scroll through all of the pre-installed applications, which, being that this is a newer version of Wear OS, some of these things are different. So swiping down gets you into your list of apps. Swiping to the left is where your notifications are. Down gets you your quick settings there. To the right gives you your tiles that you can sort of add in and customize. And that's pretty much it in terms of navigation. I have used mine with the band that it came with, as well as this elastic band that I've gotten recently, and both of them have been pretty comfortable. You'll actually see here how the health tracking sensors kind of bulge out a little bit, which allows it to make better contact with your wrist. But trust me, it's not actually uncomfortable. You may think, oh, that's bulging out. Might feel weird on your wrist. That's not really a problem. So now let's take a look at the settings app on my Z Fold 4 and kind of see what kinds of settings and customizations you have here. So let's go into the watch faces first. There are a ton of watch faces to choose from and to customize. I really like the fact that, let's look at the one I've got now. When you customize them, I really like this a lot. There's some pre-made ones there, obviously. You can set a color profile that you like, and then you can go in and set what each of these things are. They call them complications, but you can customize all of this stuff in a really nice way and have a watch face that's going to show what you want to see. I really, really dig that. And the watch face I have on there now might look a little simple to you, but I really, really dig it. And in fact, on my Mobvoi watch, I was trying to find something similar to it because I liked it so much. I wanted to find something to replicate it and really couldn't. You can customize your app screen from this settings application as well. It allows you to long press and reorder the applications. Really, really nice thing to have here on your phone instead of trying to do it on your small screen. That's really nice. Same thing with your tiles. You can see what tiles are available. Personally, I like having my Galaxy Buds controls right there on my wrist to change active noise cancellation and so forth. Really, really good. You can start your health tracking, like your workout tracking there, even though it does have automatic tracking. We'll touch on this in a little bit. You might want to start, manually start it there, weather, and all sorts of other things you can pin to those tiles. Going into the watch settings, there's a lot you can do here, a lot of customization. You can tell it what applications you want to be getting notifications for. These are some that for some reason were turned off. Well, we're going to turn them back on. So you can customize what apps will buzz your wrist and which ones won't. Under display, there's a lot here. There is automatic brightness, which is what I use. If you want to save some battery, maybe turn that off and turn that brightness down a little bit. The always on display is useful, but it is going to hurt your battery life, and the lift to wake thing does work really, really well, and it's very consistent. So I leave that on and leave AOD turned off. Touchscreen to wake, I'm actually going to turn that off. I occasionally will bump up against something and that will turn it on, so I usually keep that turned off. Under Samsung Health, there's some cool stuff here. Mine is set to check my heart rate every 10 minutes when I am still. You can have it measure continuously if you don't care about your battery life, or manually only. Stress checking, I don't care about that. I don't really feel like that's accurate or useful information to me at all, so it's off. Tracking your blood oxygen during your sleep. I don't have a blood oxygen problem, so I have that turned off. I know mine's going to be fine. Snore detection is really interesting to have on. I've not actually tested this, but it's something that might be an interesting idea to try. Apparently, it will even be able. You can even apparently record the audio of the snoring. I wonder if your spouse may be able to trigger this, and you won't know who's snoring. Maybe the audio will be useful for that. Auto detecting workouts. This is something we'll dive into just a little bit here because it's largely been really good, but I have had some instances where I've had some problems. The other day, we were out on a long walk, and it kept thinking a workout had started and then ended, and then it would pick that workout up again. And you can see what that looked like here. This was all one continuous session, but it kept beginning and ending them. Now, typically that doesn't happen. You just have to keep moving. But on this walk, if I stopped to take a photo or something, it would be like, oh, he's done walking. So there are some issues there. Another bigger issue, though, is the fact that while it knows roundabout where I was, it did not actually track the trail directly. If I had gone onto my watch and manually started the workout, it will actually map that trail, the path I took, which you can actually see there. And it tracks your elevation, your heart rate, your speed. There's a lot of really great stuff. And again, that trail is there, and you see where there's a lap where I met a mile, and then changes colors to go to the next mile. So there's a lot of really good stuff there. So before we go any further and start talking about advanced features, battery saving, and more, please give me about a minute to talk about another product that you might want to start keeping with you at all times, just like my Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 Pro. I'm sure a lot of you remember when the Ridge wallet was really popular and every YouTuber was hawking Ridge wallets. Well, I was reached out to by a company called Exter, and they wanted to know if they could send me a couple of their wallets to take a look at and then to bring to you guys. So again, give me about a minute and let's talk about what they have sent me, because it's actually very, very impressive, and frankly, it makes the Ridge wallet kind of look like a piece of junk. So this one is called the Senate. It's got a place here for some cash, maybe slap some more cards in there, but the biggest feature for this thing is this button. Watch what happens when you push it. Boom, all your cards slide out, nicely splayed out so that you can grab each individual card. That was the fatal flaw of the Ridge wallet for me. Sure, you could push your cards out, but they're all just bunched up together, and I could never get a hold of the individual card that I wanted. RFD blocking, and that is basically a fidget toy in your pocket. It is fantastic. You also have a much simpler little card pouch, which is a very, very slim, low profile way to keep cards and cash on you. They also have a card tracker. This thing will sync up with your phone, and if you happen to leave this thing behind in your wallet, of course, you will be able to go back and find your wallet where it is tracked on a map. So guys, if any of these things look interesting to you, follow the link in the description and use the coupon code Shane at checkout if it's not already applied by the link, which it should be. You should be getting 25% off, so do go check that out. All right, so back to our regularly scheduled programming. Let's jump into the advanced features here. You can set the home key double press to go back to the most recent app or launch an app of your choice. The press and hold can launch the Assistant, Bixby, or do power off. Of course, you have to go to the Play Store, install the Google Assistant, and then you can do that, and it works really, really well. So the back key is short press to go back or to show your recent apps, which is really helpful as well if you're constantly moving between applications. Now, if we jump into battery, you'll see that I've got about a day and 16 hours use. We're getting close to 2 days. We get about 2 more days left. Power saving mode is turned off, but it is an option there. Let's look at what it actually does. You can see on screen what it's going to do for you, and it will increase your battery life quite a bit if you do that, but I don't really think it's all that necessary. I love being able to actually manage the apps that are on my watch from my phone because that is a whole lot easier. You can actually store some content on your watch itself or auto sync it every 6 hours if you want to go that route. Maybe you just want to pair your earbuds directly to the watch and use that. And then a cool feature to have under safety and emergency is a hard fall detection. Maybe you're worried about falling down, not being able to get back up. Well, it should be able to detect that and help you out in a pinch. So let's take a moment here and look at the Samsung Health app because everything you're going to see in this has come from this watch. Obviously, it can track your steps and so forth. We've looked at how it tracks exercising. Sleep is a really nice thing for it to be able to track as well. And when you use it, you have to obviously wear it whenever you're asleep, but you're going to get a nice breakdown of what was going on. How often were you awake? How often were you in REM sleep? And it will give you sort of a sleep score as well. This is a really interesting one for me, and it's one I like to look at. Your heart rate is tracked throughout the day as well. You can see here's where we were on our little hike, if you want to call it that, and you can see that my heart rate did go up for that. And you can see how it went throughout the entire day. A really cool one, though, for me is actually the ECG, an electrocardiogram that you can actually take using your watch. You basically hold 2 fingers on the button, hold it up about chest height on with your elbow on a table, and it will give you an ECG, which will tell you if you're in sinus rhythm, if you have AFib going on, something like that, something strange going on, and it's really, really interesting to see. I actually occasionally have some heart palpitations, just something I've dealt with since I was a small child, and I'm able to actually track them and see them when I feel them happening. I can actually do this thing and see right there is a heart palpitation. I felt that happen, and boom, there it was on my app. Don't worry, I'm fine. Of course, blood oxygen tracking is there. I think it's a little bit inaccurate though, because I don't think my blood oxygen has ever hit 86. I think I'd be in a little bit of trouble if that happens. I'm not sure why that seems to be a bit inaccurate. My Mob Boy watch, I don't think ever had me below like 95, which I think would be about right. So there's something weird going on with the blood oxygen tracking for me. You'll also have body composition, which will give you your BMI as well as your body fat percentage, which is an estimate, skeletal muscle, all of that stuff as well. So there's a lot of really nice health tracking features that work really well. Now there is a temperature sensor around here, but I don't think anything is taking advantage of that quite yet. And I do have to point out that if you want to use the ECG, it will have to be paired with a Samsung phone to be able to do that. I should also mention one of my favorite things about this watch in terms of health tracking versus something like my Mob Boy is how quickly the data goes from the watch and into the app. It's like instantaneous, whereas with my TicWatch, sometimes you would do the thing and you'd have to refresh a few times and eventually it would make its way to the app. This is not like that at all. It is so fast and so smooth. So where does that leave us with the Galaxy Watch 5 Pro? Well, it is the best smartwatch I have ever used. It is extremely fluid. It is extremely smooth. The health tracking, while the automatic stuff sometimes misses out on some data, it seems to be largely very active. Simple things like, wearing my VR headset and doing a boxing game. It actually will realize, hey, you're exercising, and have that in there. Sometimes other watches would think I was swimming because I'm punching. Well, it actually got that I was just doing some general cardio. So that stuff is really, really cool to see. Just in general, the level of polish on this watch, I think, is on another level compared to the other Android watches that I have used. Now, all that being said, it is extremely expensive. And there's part of me that says, well, you could have this TicWatch for not quite half the price. Maybe if you found a deal, it would be about half price, but like $100+ cheaper. So then I have to think to myself, is this $100 better than this? And if that's the question, I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I've gone back and forth between these a lot because I've been switching between a Surface Duo 2 and a Z Fold 4 as my primary phones. These are not, I should say, these are paired. This is paired to my Duo. So when I move back and forth, I change watches. And it doesn't feel like when I put this back on, am I like, oh man, this is terrible. I'm having such a terrible experience. This is so much better. No, not really. This is better than this, but it's not. I mean, $100 more is a lot. So at this price that it's at, if you're looking for something really, really good and money's not really an object to you, yeah, I can recommend this. For most people, it's probably a lot more expensive, and you're not going to get necessarily that added benefit for spending so much more money. It is the best smartwatch I've ever used, but $400+ is a lot of money to spend on a watch for most people. Granted, I know people are buying that new Apple Watch Ultra that looks like you've got a phone on your wrist, and it's like $800 or something. So maybe I'm totally wrong about this. But at any rate, guys, that is my review for the Galaxy Watch 5 Pro. Thanks for watching. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Links to this watch in the description down below. I will see you on the next one. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.